Hey, everybody. I'm really excited about this podcast. It's called True Crime Freaks, which you're about to listen to, but it is a ton of work. If you do enjoy the podcast, go to my Ko-fi page. You can find the podcast at ko-fi.com. It's ko-fi.com /The Lights Camera Pro podcast. And there you can donate $3, $1, whatever you want, but anything you can donate will help me continue making this podcast. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hey everybody, it's Sean Ventura. I am here to tell you about my new online course. It's called Secrets of How to Start a Podcast. It is $49 US. You can see these courses for up to $1,000. If you're about to start a podcast, I will tell you what to do step by step and give you all my secrets, and you can launch one in 30 days. Go to thinkific.com, search Secrets of How to Start a Podcast. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day. Hey, True Crime Freaks, I'm Sean Ventura, your host. This episode really makes me upset. I'm so mad for what I believe happened to this young woman. It's really a tragedy and an awful story, filled with so many twists and turns that will make your head spin. A beautiful young woman and a scruffy older man have an affair. She becomes obsessed and the man's wife finds out. Is an affair enough to justify murder? Or maybe there is a secret that will make someone do the unthinkable. This is the disappearance of Heather Elvis. This next audio clip is of Brianna Kulzer, 28, who was Heather's best friend and roommate. It's part of a segment from WPDE TV News.
I think the hardest thing is not having closure. So you don't know. We don't know what happened on that night.
A dangerous love triangle gone bad. Nobody in the sleepy town of Carolina Forest, South Carolina, expected this kind of story. No one saw it coming. And no one expected this creative and beautiful young woman to vanish into thin air. Heather Elvis was a sweet and fun-loving young woman who lived in South Carolina and who was studying cosmetology. She was 20 years old. She liked to draw and have fun with her friends. She got a job at the Twisted Kilt as a hostess. It was there that she met the married 38-year-old man who would seal her fate forever, Sidney Moorer. Heather and Sidney flirted and chatted for days. He would bring her a bagel and coffee when he stopped by the restaurant to check on and repair the kitchen equipment. Soon after, they started an affair that would change both of their lives forever. The affair lasted about 6 weeks. According to People magazine, Heather was a very pretty young girl, and then you have this scruffy guy with his hair in a ponytail, Elvis's best friend Brianna Kulzer said. I was like, Heather, are you sure? Are you sure that you want to go after this? She was under the assumption that he was going to leave his wife and that they were going to be together. And he loved her and he wanted the same thing, says Kulzer. I looked at it as something that could potentially blow up, she said. Heather tweeted early that month that she had a taste for older men and I'm in way too deep, but watch me get in deeper. According to People, Elvis reassured her friend that the father of the three had an open marriage and his wife, Tammy Moore, had a boyfriend. Tammy learned about the illicit relationship in October 2013. According to People, Tammy continued to contact Elvis, texting her, "Hey, sweetie, you ready to meet the missus?" Tammy called Heather and insisted that she end it with her husband. Tammy then monitored a conversation in which Sidney allegedly said, "You are nothing to me. You are just someone who spread your legs." Late that month, Elvis tweeted that once upon a time, an angel and a devil fell in love. It did not end well. According to court records, harassment continued from the then 41-year-old woman, prompting Heather to send a text message saying, "I think you're a little obsessed with me. I'm nobody you need to worry about." And that was it. That is where all of this should have ended, but we will soon learn why this story takes a wicked turn. According to 9honey Online, Sidney alleges that his wife went to great lengths to keep him away from Elvis, keeping his phone and even handcuffing him to the bed at night, according to police records. Heather had rapidly gained weight and gone up 3 bra sizes in her work uniform. Her manager, Jessica Cook, testified that Elvis took a pregnancy test, but that it came back as error, reported the WMBF News in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Eventually, Heather and her friends came to the realization that she might be pregnant, said Horry County Assistant Solicitor Chris Helms later in court. Prosecutors claim that Tammy Moore's plan to kidnap Elvis started after she found out that her husband's mistress was concerned she might be pregnant, according to Myrtle Beach Online. When this gets out, it becomes common knowledge, the fire and jealousy in Tammy Moore explodes into rage, Assistant Solicitor Chris Helms said. According to WMBF News, the night of Elvis's disappearance, footage shows Sidney purchasing a pregnancy test. He told investigators the test was for his wife, despite Elvis having texted him about gaining weight and friends testifying about her pregnancy concerns. Before buying a pregnancy test at Walmart, Sidney Moore removed his phone SD card so he couldn't be tracked. He later called Elvis from a nearby payphone rather than using his own cell phone. Here's an excerpt of an interview with Sidney Moore with WMBF News. He is talking about why he bought the pregnancy test.
I was actually buying it for my wife. She was in the vehicle when I bought it for her. She took it that night, and it was negative like so many before and after.
According to WMBF News, Heather went on a first date with a man who may have been the last person to see her. During the date, she texted her father, Terry Elvis, a photo of herself learning to drive a stick shift in the parking lot of the Inlet Square Mall. He dropped her off at her River Oaks Drive apartment around 2 a.m. I'm just telling you this now, but this actually happened a few days later. The police gave Stephen Schiraldi, who is the guy who went on the date with Heather and drove the truck, a lie detector test, and he passed it. So they wrote him off as a suspect. This timeline was from the website True Noir Everyday Mysteries. It starts on December 17th, 2013. 1:12 a.m. Sidney purchases a pregnancy test from Walmart. There is video of his car being at the Walmart. 1:35 to 1:40 a.m. Sidney calls Heather from a payphone. Call duration is 4 minutes 53 seconds. There is video of Sidney making the call. At first, he lied to the police about making the call. He said he was at home. Once confronted with the video evidence, he tells the truth.
There was a phone call made to Heather that night from a payphone at the gas station on 10th Avenue.
Okay.
And we have video from that.
Okay.
Did you try calling her? Just a minute?
No.
A second? You sure?
Maybe.
Okay, how about we start again?
I did. I called her.
And what did you say?
I asked her to please leave me alone.
This clip is from WMBF News. 1:44 to 1:46 a.m. Heather calls her best friend and roommate, Bree, who was visiting family in another state at the time. According to Bree, Heather was upset and told her that Sidney said he left his wife, he missed me and wanted to see me. Around 2:42 a.m. to 2:56 a.m., Heather's phone is at Longbeard's Bar and Restaurant in Carolina Forest. 2:57 a.m., heads to Augusta Plantation Drive and then turns around. 3:01 a.m., she returns to Longbeard's in Carolina Forest. 3:16 a.m., Heather's cell phone attempts to call Sidney's cell phone for the first time immediately as she is leaving Longbeard's, but there is no answer. 3:16 a.m. Heather's phone heads back to her apartment. 3:19 a.m. Heather's phone remains at her residence. 3:21 a.m., Heather again attempts to call Sydney's cell phone and it's answered. The call duration is 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Heather's phone is still at her home at this point, and Sydney's phone is at the Moore residence. Prosecution heavily implied that it could have been Tammy talking to Heather here, and as Sydney has now admitted the payphone call as the stop calling call, it no longer seems that he is claiming this particular conversation with Heather. 3:25 to 3:37 a.m., Heather's phone moves from her residence to the Peachtree boat landing. 3:36 a.m., a private video surveillance camera captures a dark-colored Ford F-150 coming from the direction of the Moore home and heading towards the boat landing. The camera is 1.7 miles from the Moore's residence. 3:38 a.m., Heather's phone attempts to call Sydney's phone, but there is no answer. Heather's phone is now at the boat landing. Calls are attempted from Heather's phone to Sydney's phone again at 3:39 and 3:40 a.m. 3:39 a.m., a business video surveillance located a mile from the first camera and closer to Peachtree Landing captures the same vehicle still proceeding in the direction of the boat landing. 3:41 a.m., Heather attempts to call Sydney again. 3:42 a.m., Heather's cell phone data / activity ends. 3:45 a.m., the same business video surveillance camera captures a truck coming from the direction of the boat landing and heading back towards the Moore residence. The camera is approximately 1.2 miles from the landing. 3:46 a.m., the private residence video surveillance captures the vehicle headed from the boat landing towards the Moore residence. Okay, so I'm going to give you my 2 cents here, and you can agree or disagree. All right, so this woman was dating this guy. They broke up. He calls her up. He says, I want to get back together. I want to leave my wife. The wife finds out after she's really upset that the husband cheated, that she's actually pregnant. And he says, no, she's not pregnant. She says, prove it. Get a pregnancy test. We'll go pick her up and make her take it. And I want to see proof that she's not pregnant. There's phone calls back and forth on this night. They decide to meet at this Peachtree Landing. Obviously, Heather still has feelings for him. Maybe she knows that Tammy's going to be there. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she just wants to get it all over with and show her that she's not pregnant. Or maybe she thinks she's just meeting Sydney and Sydney tricks her and Tammy's there. I don't know. All I know is that their phone calls have been happening all night, every 5, 10, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden they end when they meet up. And then we see that their truck is there. They're saying that there's a lot of black trucks on that street. I don't agree with that. I mean, obviously, when this is happening at 3:40 in the morning, there's not a lot of black trucks driving to the boat landing. It's their truck. Either they're both there or one of them is there. And they take Heather, they drug her, they do something to her, and they take her back to their house. And she disappears. And they are complicit. They have something to do with it. But tell me what you think in the comments. Send an email to our email on the Facebook page. I'm interested in hearing what everyone thinks. This is a very famous case. There's been several podcasts about it. There's been hundreds of articles and tons of video. And it just gripped me from the beginning. But now we're going to go through the timeline of events that was reported by WMBF News. On December 19th, 2013, this is the next day, Heather's vehicle, registered in her father's name, was found at Peachtree Boat Landing in Saskatoon. The doors were locked. Police notified Terry Elvis, who opened up the car, but her purse and phone were not inside. December 20th, police began searching for Heather Elvis in the area around Peachtree Landing. On December 20th also, Sydney Moore was questioned by detectives in Conway and asked about the payphone call. Moore denied making the call, but finally admitted to it after police told him that they had a video of him at the payphone. December 22nd, the First Baptist Church in Myrtle Beach hosts a prayer vigil for Heather Elvis. December 24th, the reward for information increases to $10,000. Okay, so let me just say here that this is a lot of information. And if you have to, you can hit the rewind 30 seconds button to go back over it. We're just going through this timeline, and a lot of stuff happens in this case. It is not quick. It's not wrapped up quickly. It goes on for years and years and years. And the Moores are charged with kidnapping, and then things happen, and we go back and forth. They're in and out of jail. And if you need to rewind or stop and go back over it, because it's a lot of information. Heather went missing on December 17th, 2013. We are now in the year 2014. It's January 27th, 2014. Let me just tell you that this video wasn't released until September 2019. I'm sharing it now to show what happened at the time. Officials released the video of police questioning Tammy Moore on January 27th, 2014. In the video, the detective asked Tammy about the rumored affair between Sydney and Elvis and proposed it as a motive for the kidnapping. Tammy told the detective that she didn't care if Sydney was cheating. Here's the clip.
I had boyfriends. We had an open marriage. Okay. That's okay. I could care less if he had sex with 100 people. Okay. All right. I mean, that doesn't really, it doesn't bother me.
So what is it? She cares that he's cheating, or she doesn't? Why does she tell Sydney to stop seeing her and then tell the detective that she doesn't care if he sees her? Why does she text Heather and say, stop seeing my husband, but then she tells the detective she doesn't care if he sleeps with 100 people? Which one is it? It's one or the other. February 21st, 7:30 a.m. Police execute a search warrant on the residence of Sydney and Tammy Moore as part of an ongoing investigation into the disappearance of Heather Elvis. Sydney and Tammy Moore are taken into custody. February 22nd, Sydney and Tammy Moore are charged in separate bond hearings Saturday morning. Each are charged with obstruction of justice and 2 counts of indecent exposure. The reason why they were charged with indecent exposure is because Tammy had sent Heather photos of her and Sydney having sex. A hold was placed on their release, and officials said they expected more charges and possibly more arrests. February 23rd, Sydney and Tammy Moore were both charged with kidnapping, in addition to the charges announced Saturday. Solicitor Jimmy Richardson confirmed Tammy and Sydney Moore's kidnapping charges are directly related to the case of the missing 20-year-old Heather Elvis. Okay, so this just keeps escalating and escalating. On February 24th, the Horry County Police Department announced at a 10 a.m. news conference that Tammy and Sydney Moore will be charged with the murder of Heather Elvis. They said evidence recovered in the Moore home and on their property gave them probable cause for the charge. Okay, so here's the creepiest charge. Arrest warrants released by HCPD detail the kidnapping and murder charges. The warrants state that Tammy and Sydney Moore did unlawfully, without just or sufficient cause, murder Heather Elvis with malice forethought. The kidnapping warrant states that the couple did unlawfully seize, confine, kidnap, abduct, or carry away Heather Elvis by any means whatsoever without the authority of the law. March 17th, Tammy and Sydney Moore appear in Horry County Court before Judge Stephen John for a bond hearing. After testimony and presentation of evidence from state prosecutors, Terry Elvis, Horry County Police, and the Moores' defense attorneys, the judge denies bond for both the Moores. On June 30th, the Elvis family honors Heather Elvis on her 21st birthday. The family announces they are putting together a book of stories and memories from people that knew Heather. There's no outlet for the anger you feel because there's nothing you can do, and there's no justice yet, so there's no truth yet, said Heather's mother, Debbie Elvis. As I told you, this just keeps getting crazier and crazier. So on January 30th, a Charleston judge sets bond for Sydney and Tammy Moore at $100,000 each for all charges related to the Heather Elvis case. He requires that both wear a GPS monitoring device, stay outside a 5-mile radius of the Elvis house, and have no contact with the Elvis family. I can't believe these people are out on bail. In my mind, they're obviously a danger. They have attempted to kidnap someone, possibly murder someone. They're up for murder charges. Why are they out on bail? It doesn't make any sense to me. On June 30th, the 22nd birthday of missing woman Heather Elvis is celebrated at Peachtree Landing. Okay, so that was June 30th, 2014. We are going to hop ahead now to March 10th, 2016. Okay, so this is something that happens sometimes in the justice system, that we see something so ridiculous and we're like, why is this happening and how can they do that? Well, there's lots of laws and rules and ways of doing things. If your attorney presents it in the wrong way, if you don't have the right documents, or if a witness can or cannot be presented in court, or evidence can or cannot be presented in court, there's a lot of things involved. But I totally was like most people, losing faith in the justice system when this was announced. But please listen. And, by the end of this will all come together. But it is a long road. I had many, many doubts along the way. On March 10th, 2016, murder charges against both Sydney and Tammy Moore are dropped. Kidnapping charges against both Moores remain pending. Indecent exposure charges against both are dropped. Tammy Moore's charge of obstruction of justice is dropped, but Sydney Moore's remains. On March 11, 2016, the family of Heather Elvis spoke about their faith and how they moved forward during a press conference Friday afternoon at Peachtree Landing in Saskatoon, one day after murder charges against Sydney and Tammy Moore were dropped. In a separate trial, a jury finds Sydney Moore guilty of obstruction of justice for impeding the investigation into Elvis's disappearance. He is sentenced to 10 years in prison. Okay, now we're jumping ahead to 2018. On October 23rd, 2018, a jury found Tammy Moore guilty of kidnapping and conspiracy to commit kidnapping in connection with Elvis's disappearance. Moore was sentenced to 30 years in prison on each of the charges. The sentences will run concurrently. Okay, now we're jumping ahead to 2019. On September 19th, 2019, according to the Myrtle Beach Online, Sydney Moore was found guilty of kidnapping charges and sentenced to 30 years in prison. The jury delivered the unanimous verdict Wednesday after about 2 hours of deliberation, and Judge R. Markley Dennis issued the maximum sentence, the same one received by his wife last year. Sydney and his wife, Tammy Moore, were charged with the kidnapping related to the disappearance of Heather Elvis on December 18, 2013. Elvis was last tracked at Peachtree Landing. Okay, there's just a couple little things we got to wrap up with before we finish this episode. There was some video that was released during the trial, which helped a lot of the jurors and people see that Sydney and Tammy were at least responsible for the kidnapping, if not more. In the video, which I won't show to you because it's kind of far away, we see Sydney and Tammy cleaning out their black pickup truck, which was the same truck that went to the landing the night Heather Elvis disappeared. They have rags, they have hoses, and they're cleaning out the truck. That was never released until this last trial of Sydney Moore. Also during the trial, there was this really weird confession. According to the Myrtle Beach Online, Tammy Moore's cousin said in court that he was at the Moore's house for a cookout after Heather Elvis went missing and saw a photo of Elvis on a phone. It did not appear that Elvis could walk or talk in the photo, Donald DeMarino said. He added the photo was taken for Tammy Moore and that he did not expect to see Elvis again after viewing the photo. The picture caused him to leave the residence. I don't know. I really don't know, DeMarino said of his reaction to the photo. Okay, one last thing. There's 5 theories in this case, 5 possibilities. Sydney and Tammy Moore killed Heather. The man on the date killed her, which he was cleared by police. Heather's father killed her. I didn't really go into this too much, but the Moore's attorneys suggested that in court, because he's the father and he had been involved in some shady land deal or something. He had some sketchiness in his past that he was capable of killing his daughter. A stranger kidnapped and killed Heather Elvis. Or number 5, Heather disappeared on purpose to get away from Tammy. This is highly unlikely because Heather was still in love with Sydney at the time, and she probably wouldn't leave her family, whom she was close with. So out of those 5 theories, which one do you think happened? If you can leave it in the comments on the Facebook page, or you can email to the email address on the Facebook page. It would be really cool to see what you think. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. It was a monster. It was a ton of evidence and a ton of timelines and a ton of information and a total puzzle to put together coming from so many different sources. But I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it. Hey, everybody. I'm really excited about this podcast. It's called True Crime Freaks, which you're about to listen to, but it is a ton of work. If you do enjoy the podcast, go to my Ko-fi page. You can find the podcast at ko-fi.com. It's ko-fi.com/the Lights Camera Pro podcast. And there you can donate $3, $1, whatever you want, but anything you can donate will help me continue making this podcast. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hey everybody, it's Sean Ventura. I am here to tell you about my new online course. It's called Secrets of How to Start a Podcast. It is $49 US. You can see these courses for up to $1,000. If you're about to start a podcast, I will tell you what to do step by step and give you all my secrets, and you can launch one in 30 days. Go to thinkific.com, search Secrets of How to Start a Podcast. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day. I will see you next time in the next chilling story on True Crime Freaks. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day. I'm Sean Ventura. Take care.